Hey, how
Hi,
are you?
I'm fine. How are you, Kate?
I'm great, thanks. Oh, I see you've got some of your beautiful pieces in the background there.
Yeah, I sort of set up a little bit of a showcase here in my home because I'm not going to do it in my actual painting studio right now. My daughter is studying in the next room, and I can't really talk so loudly in front of her. So,
Right.
but we just had our studio tour, as you were involved in as well. So
Yeah.
all my paintings are here at my home, just ready to show everyone and talk about it.
Yeah, we had, well, I think you were part of the Lawrence Park studio tour, I think, on the weekend, right? And I was part of ArtWalk in the
Exactly.
Square that did the in person
Yes.
on Saturday.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
Oh,
at
you
Art
did it on
Alchemy.
Sunday as well.
No, just Saturday,
You did
sorry.
it a
It
Saturday,
just felt
exactly.
like it was 2 days.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
know.
know.
It felt like it was 2 days, but
Yeah.
yeah, and we just had the North Toronto one 2 weeks ago, so
Yeah, which was
really
really
busy
busy.
time.
Yeah, but it's been, I don't know about you, but I found that it's just been so wonderful. Like I was just sort of did a bit of an introduction talking about the fact that one of the things that artists and collectors lose is that opportunity to really talk to the artist and have a conversation and meet them. And, things like this really help, but the best is really in person, right? And so we've been pretty
Exactly.
blessed to have a couple of shows to be able to do that.
Exactly. And ArtWalk Square last year in September was my very first art fair,
Was
where
it?
I had a tent and a whole display. So it was really an exciting time, and it did give me a lot of inspiration to move forward with this kind of second career, which I've
Yeah.
just started. And you're right, it was all about the conversations with just the customers and other artists. I just felt like it was such a great, great thing.
And I think,
And it's
and
very
building those
exciting.
conversations and building those customer contacts and stuff, I mean, it takes time. It takes time for you as the artist to kind of hear back and figure out your own style, which we can talk about. But I think it also takes time for collectors to kind of see you, and sometimes they can be really attracted to the work, but it isn't quite something they're looking for yet. And a few years down the road, it is, right? So,
Exactly. And
but
that's what so many of the pros like you explained to me. This is about, planting seeds. And you're right, people getting to
mhm.
know you and what you do and seeing the consistency and the dedication you have will give them that,
Oh, totally.
assurance that you're
Yeah.
really in this for the long haul. And
It's
when they're
interesting.
ready to buy, I'll be ready.
Oh, for sure. Well, it's interesting too. I was just going to say that, for extroverts like you and I, who are like, they're talk, 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 and you meet people and you meet contacts, which is great.
Exactly.
But, there are other people like collectors who are actually much more introverted. And it's interesting because the feedback I've heard from them is that, of course, they love to meet the artists, but they find that's a little bit stressful sometimes. So these online shows are great because they can really
True.
zoom in on a painting, spend a lot of time
Right.
thinking about it and looking at it without feeling that commitment. So I think we're starting, or we'll
Right.
kind of hopefully move forward with having the best of both worlds.
Exactly. No pressure, and they can just take all their time. And,
Yeah.
Art Walk online is up for a couple weeks, and I think it's a really great online show. I love scrolling through all the other artists' work myself. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And so I'm guessing that your work is being particularly well received right now since it's so joyful and lots of colors and kind of during these times people are looking for something happy and joyful. You want to talk a
Yeah,
little bit about your
definitely.
journey and your inspiration?
Sure. Well, let me turn it on some of the work, and I can
Excellent. A
talk
studio tour is
through
always good.
exactly, just some of the things I've lined up here in my home. But a lot of my work is just inspired from travels and daily walks, just out and about. Like yesterday, I was in Cedarville Park again, and I can't believe how beautiful it is there with all the fall
Hmm.
trees. Everything is turning red and yellow. And I must have taken 100 photos to get me ready for some new work. Um,
Good.
and yeah, I'm just, I start with a small study on paper sometimes or a sketch. And actually, this is what I sold a lot of in the show this weekend, was just works on paper, reasonably priced, very casual. People can just, put them into a nice glass frame after. And, people want reasonably priced, bright things, as you said, to just, cheer up that home office.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, and I love your
Um,
color palette. Like I love the that sort of it's kind of well realism in terms of people can see that they're trees and gardens and pathways and stuff. But then there's always those unexpected pops of color that I love that come through from the background.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much in saying that, because I'm really trying to
Oh,
kind
that's
of,
lovely.
get non-local with the color and really just put in something different and bright and something that evokes more emotion than the actual reality.
Hmm.
Um, so I start with some neon backgrounds first, underpainting, and I always try and let it peek through a little and see a little bit of the neon peeking through underneath.
Yeah.
So that's always the fun part, how much I can let peek through without it, without jeopardizing the quality of the painting.
Hmm. Well, I think I think you've been very successful at it. And I thought it was really
Well,
interesting when I was
thank you.
reading on your website about kind of the way that obviously you have your vision of what you want to do with your art, but you're also really open to listening to what other people have to say. I mean, and, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Sometimes people, you hear stuff you don't want to hear,
Exactly.
but sometimes it's good to be able to,
Right.
percolate it a little bit and see if there's anything valid, right?
Exactly. Like a couple years ago, when I did that first North Toronto studio tour, I was doing a lot of portraits that year. I just love trying portraits. They're so challenging. And, it was a great exercise, but I didn't really sell any because, they were portraits of other people and, my family, etc. So it wasn't really a great commercial idea. But certainly I've done some for commissions and then lots of gifts and things. So, but you're
Mm.
right. I was listening to what people were saying, and certainly people wanted landscapes and things like that they could just easily put on their walls. And
Yeah, and I'm sure it's not to
so,
say that it's not to say that you don't do portrait anymore because that's not what people are buying. But I think you can kind
exactly.
of you transition it, right? In every stage of an artist's development, you learn something new out of it, and you kind of continue to build on it.
Right. Yeah. Kind of pivot. I was doing landscapes for many years just for fun as a hobby. So I went back and took a deep, hard look at what I could do with those and really, paint more what people wanted, were interested in buying from me.
Yeah,
So
within your own kind of exploration and
within my own style
yeah,
and within what I was wanting to do anyways. So always that balance, right? And doing what you
yeah.
want to do and doing what people would like to buy.
Well, and sometimes I think it's for me as an artist, I think that's also a bit of a challenge to push you, right? Like it's easy to kind of say, oh, I'm only going to do what I want to do. But sometimes if someone else says something, it's just like, well, that's a challenge to push me outside my comfort zone. And I might go there and I might decide I don't love it, so I'm not going to continue. But
Right.
sometimes it takes you in a direction you think, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. Like I just did in July, I just did a garage. I painted a garage, and you can see that on my website and a couple of Instagram posts. But what a challenge and an exciting thing to work on. And oh my God, the paint is so different using exterior house paint on the bumpy garage. And, it was, and it was 35 degrees every day, and the paint was drying in 5 minutes. It was just such a ridiculous challenge, but what a load of fun for a few
Oh, cool.
weeks. And now I tagged the garage, and we're hoping that it won't get covered in graffiti over the years, the client, but
Oh,
I'm
I
hoping
hope
to
no,
do some
yeah.
more. So if anybody
Oh,
has
that's cool.
a
So that was
graffiti
a
covered
client piece.
garage,
Oh, that's neat.
what's that?
So that was a client piece. You did the garage.
Yeah, I did that as a commission for a family friend, and worked out really well.
Oh, lovely. And
Yeah,
so
that was
I
fun.
noticed you're doing kind of, you have your collection of barnscapes as well as landscapes. Are you working on just one now or both at the same time or?
Well, actually, the barnscapes were my first show last year. I did a whole series of barns, and I pretty much sold out all of them except one that I forgot about that I need to finish up. So I can try and move on with that one. And then I went all just to trees this year, just all trees, because I just never seem to run out of inspiration for painting trees. And
Yeah.
then for next year, like I start to work in the fall on a whole new series for all the shows upcoming next year. And I'm either going to go back to barns or I might go to rocks, because I really did a whole series in rocks a few years ago. And I just love rocks as well. So you might see some rocks coming up in the next series.
Cool. So if someone are interested in your barns, you should buy them now because you might not be doing them
Exactly.
again.
Exactly. I've got one barn left, which I'm just going to finish up in my studio, and I'll put weeks. And I've got a commission of someone's house, which is exciting. There's so much development in Toronto. I'm getting some calls for house portraits now to really record the history of a beautiful old house before it gets torn down. So,
Oh wow,
um,
sad but kind of cool.
exactly, sad but cool, and we'll have a beautiful record with an oil painting of this next house that's going to be torn down. So I have to finish up that commission too. Um, but I don't know. Now,
Lovely.
that was the last outdoor show that we did. So I think
Yeah.
I'll go into a time where I can just get back to some painting and work on some new series and ideas. And